Good day indeed! For today's video, we will be discussing the first cartoon appearance of that master of sound known as Klaw. So, alright, let's go!
Alright, so we start off with Mr. Fantastic and the Thing trying to understand this crazy subspace alien being, aka nightmare fuel, right? Just look at that thing! Man, out of all of Mr. Fantastic's zany experiments, this is the zaniest! But the Human Torch, Johnny Storm, he ain't got time for this science crap. No, he's taking off for a 2-week vacation. Presumably somewhere's hot, right? But as soon as he takes off for this vacation, some weird-looking dude with a speaker for a hand shows up. Turns out, his name is Klaw, and his Beats by Dre hand produces dangerous sound waves up to and including creating a sonic boom in Mr. Fantastic's lab. Holy crap! Destruction and sound? This guy's a one-man Guns N' Roses concert. Anywho, so now that the Thing and Mr. Fantastic are down and out and trapped in their laboratory by one of Klaw's sound barriers, Klaw goes after the invisible girl. And you kind of get the impression that this is all about revenge, I think? Well, Klaw dumps a steaming load of information on Invisible Girl. So I guess the Fantastic Four thought that Klaw, the Master of Sound, died years ago? And we don't really know if it was because of the Fantastic Four or not, but I guess we have to assume that. But the reports of Klaw's death were greatly exaggerated because he has survived, but not survived in the conventional sense, I guess. He is now completely made up of solidified sound, which is incredible. Like, how the hell does that happen? We may never know, but nonetheless, he starts attacking Invisible Girl. Meanwhile, in the laboratory, so the Thing and Mr. Fantastic are trying to break through this sound barrier. And luckily, as freaking always it seems, Mr. Fantastic has this random piece of technology just lying around in a heap somewhere that could completely solve the situation. So he puts this crazy contraption on the Thing and boom! They break free of the barrier! I really have no idea how, but they do it! Now that they're free, they can go help Invisible Girl defeat Klaw. And it's not looking too good, right? Like, the Klaw just knocked out the Thing, so the team is slowly becoming more screwed. Luckily, the Human Torch takes a vacation from his vacation and shows up with souvenirs. Turns out, Mr. Fantastic asked Johnny to bring back some knuckle dusters made out of vibranium. Because, as we all know, vibranium can absorb anything, right? Physical contact, sounds, whatever. Wait a second. Vibranium? There's only one place on the planet that has vibranium. Do they mean to tell me that Johnny went to Wakanda for vacation? Wow! Like, that is fantastic! I thought outsiders couldn't get into Wakanda. Huh. Anyway, so after Human Torch and Mr. Fantastic start bouncing Klaw around the room for a while, Mr. Fantastic uses his stretching ability to completely smother Klaw, like a sleeping bag made out of heavy rubber. So Klaw completely drains his powers trying to escape this, right? But he can't get past Reed's stretchy body or those vibranium knuckles, so Klaw has no choice but to completely pass out. So now that the sound threat is out cold and neutralized, Johnny goes back on vacation, presumably back to Africa, which would be a long flight if he's just flying by himself, and Klaw goes to prison, where the prison cell will be made out of vibranium to neutralize his sound powers. Man, I can guarantee that the Wakandan government is going to charge quite a pretty penny for all that vibranium, being such a rare mineral and all, so Klaw is probably going to have a really small jail cell. But who cares, because the day is saved! Hooray! And with that, that is the end of this fantastic episode!
Yeah, right, Lake? Indeed, as per usual for these Fantastic Four cartoons, 'twas pretty good! This particular episode was part of an anomaly in this series. So basically, every episode in this series has one story per the entire episode. Except for this one! For some reason, this episode was split up into two separate stories, the featured episode being the first half. Why they would do that? I don't know, man. It makes no sense. Because it kind of leads to, the whole attack of Klaw on the Fantastic Four, right? We don't really know why he did it. Well, based in the scope of this cartoon series, All we know is that he's mad at the Fantastic Four, for his apparent death. But how did he die, and how were the Fantastic Four involved in that, right? We have no idea. Perhaps if this episode was longer than the 10 minutes or so that it was, maybe we would have had enough time for a proper backstory. Were the Fantastic Four directly responsible for his death? Or was he trying to call them for help but they didn't show up? It's not like we need to know 100% the ins and outs of why he's attacking the Fantastic Four and what happened, but a little bit of something, Even if it's a quick little throwaway line "You guys left me to die, so now I will revenge on you, meh." And that's all you need, right? But, oh well. I love how the experiment at the beginning of the episode with that sperm species thing, really resulted in nothing. What was the point of that? I thought that thing would have some relevance, for the solution to Klaw, maybe learning something about sound and how to block it, but I guess not. This episode, not only was it the first appearance of Klaw, but it was also the first mention of vibranium. So that is pretty awesome, right? It is a pretty important material in the Marvel Universe. Even though this episode doesn't tell us where it comes from and whatnot, if you read the comics or, whatever, you would know vibranium comes from Wakanda. So this episode does kind of accidentally, really expand on the whole world building of the Marvel Universe surrounding the Fantastic Four and all that stuff. Unfortunately, we did not see Wakanda in this cartoon series or its main hero, the Black Panther. But at least we know that it's absolutely there in this series. But enough about me yammering away in Muppet form. Listen to me now in audio form about more stuff about Klaw and all that stuff over here.
So yeah, Klaw. Let us go and take a look at the historical documents and find out where Klaw came from. So, Klaw, in his human form, first appeared in Fantastic Four number 53 in 1966. And for a quick little fun fact, his real name is Ulysses Klaw. So he doesn't even really have a supervillain name. Huh. So this comic issue is actually pretty awesome because it is the backstory that we were completely missing from this featured episode. So this story takes place in Wakanda, where the Fantastic Four are guests of honor for King T'Challa, the Black Panther. In this comic, T'Challa tells the Fantastic Four a story of how back in the day, Klaw came to Wakanda to steal a bunch of vibranium so he can build his sound transformer machine. And man, as far as supervillain contraptions go, man, this one is actually pretty awesome. He can turn sound into any living object, right? He can make a giant elephant or a giant gorilla, and they just go to town, just smash, smash, roar, it's pretty awesome. The part that's not awesome is that Klaw was responsible for the death of King T'Chaka, T'Challa's father. So a young Prince T'Challa, got his revenge by removing Klaw's hand from his body. Not quite, Luke Skywalker style, but, pretty close. The story shifts to the present day where Klaw has returned to Wakanda to take his revenge. Him and his speaker for a hand, he uses his sound transformer machine again, but he was completely defeated this time by Black Panther, who got his revenge. And at the end of the story, Klaw, on his own accord, decided himself to go into his sound transformer machine to hopefully gain more sound powers. So a pretty awesome comic book, right? And like I say, all the backstory that you needed for this episode. And it was pretty cool to really get, a whole bunch of information on Black Panther's history and having the Fantastic Four there just, hanging out. And so, the next time that we see Klaw is when he is in his solid sound form in Fantastic Four number 56 in 1966. And this is the issue that this featured episode was kind of mostly based on, right? There was a lot that was cut out, but for the main part of the story with Klaw versus Fantastic Four, pretty much the same. For example, Klaw did indeed show up in New York and attack the Fantastic Four. You know, he explains how he is now a being of living sound, got Mr. Fantastic and the Thing trapped in the laboratory with the sound barrier, attacked Invisible Girl, got beaten up when Mr. Fantastic got those vibranium knuckle dusters, and completely lost when Mr. Fantastic smothered him with his body. Right? Like, the main points are all there, pretty much the same. Even that wild and wacky subspace alien thing, man, it was all there. There are a few differences, though. For the main difference, in the cartoon, Human Torch went on vacation but then came back to drop off the vibranium, right? However, in the comic book, not even close. Man, Human Torch wasn't even on the planet. He was somewhere in the galaxy helping out his friends, the Inhumans, on a very important mission, so he wasn't there for the whole thing. Instead, it was actually King T'Challa himself who sent the vibranium directly to Mr. Fantastic with some kind of Wakandan FedEx rocket ship thingy, which completely predicted the use of drones, you know, for like deliveries. Also, in the cartoon, the Fantastic Four were the main targets for Klaw's revenge, right? But in the comic, the main target for revenge was Black Panther. But because the Fantastic Four, you know, helped out the Black Panther and are good friends with him, they were a target by association, really. But, you know, I guess targets nonetheless. So, yeah, right? Like, as I was saying before, like, it would have been nice if this mini episode was the full-length episode, so we could have probably had both of these comic issues, you know, told in one story. But then again, I don't know what the budget for the show was. Maybe they only had enough budget to get the rights for one character per episode, or something similar. I don't know. Either way, it didn't happen, sadly. But maybe somewhere in one of the parallel universes this episode exists. Hopefully some scientist finds it one day. And I guess also, like I was saying before, this cartoon was the first mention and I guess first appearance of Wakandan vibranium. So let's talk a little bit about vibranium in case you didn't know about it. So, in Marvel Comics, vibranium landed on Earth like 10,000 years ago from a meteorite, and for the biggest chunk of it, it landed in Wakanda. Wakandan vibranium actually absorbs sounds and kinetic energy. The Wakandan vibranium first appeared in Fantastic Four number 53, so even more reason that comic issue was awesome. But that's just me yammering away about all this, right? So basically, we're caught up to everything surrounding Klaw and vibranium as pertaining to when this cartoon came out, so that's kind of where we'll leave things for now. But we will have much more to discuss about this in the future. But yeah, man, other than this, that, those, and the other things, I guess that is that. Also, if you guys are interested, I created my own superhero show and I have the first episode out already. The Adventures of the Density. So if you guys would like to check it out, I'll have a link above here and a link at the end of the video for you to peruse there. Yeah, right on, and there you go. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it as much as I did making it. Also, feel free to check out the source material that I featured in this video. And if you want to leave a comment on anything you may have liked or things I might have missed in this, you know, feel free to do so. Or anything else, you know, just to say hi. That's cool too. And other than that, you know, have a great day. Thanks.